الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to lesson 6 in our series on Qatr al-Nada, and today we continue talking about the mu'rabat, and we want to talk about three categories, or actually four: التثنية والجمع. The jam here is jam مذكر سالم and jam مؤنث سالم, and غير المنصرف, right? the ممنوع من الصرف. So hopefully we'll get through all of that in an hour. قال رحمه الله: والمثنى كالزيداني فيرفع بالألف وجمع المذكر السالم كالزيدون فيرفع بالواو ويجران وينصبان بالياء وكلا وكلتا مع الضمير كالمثنى وكذا اثنان واثنتان مطلقا وإن ركبا. Alright, so he's actually talking about both the muthanna and the jamu mudhakkar salim together. The muthanna like zaydani, right, or kitabani, or imra'atani, right? It takes the alif for marfu, and it takes the ya for mansub and majroor, right? وجمع المذكر السالم, the sound masculine plural like zaydun or muslimun or dhahibun or katibun, right? Let's get one with a higher verb form. Muntaqimun, right? Anything like this. فَيُرْفَعُ بِالْوَاو, it takes the waw for marfu, and it also takes a ya for mansub or majroor. So this is why I guess he grouped the muthanna and the jamu mudhakkar salim together, because they both take the ya for mansub and majroor. They differ in the marfu case. The jamu mudhakkar salim takes a waw and the muthanna takes an alif. Of course we know this already. Alright, so now let's look at the dual a bit more closely. So dual, we know the meaning of dual. Dual is something that is a word that indicates two of something by means of the alif noon suffix. Alright, so what is this noon? There's actually some discussion about that. The way it is often taught when you're doing i'rab of it is you say the noon is عوضاً عن التنوين في الاسم المفرد. Right, that it is substitute for the tanween which is there in a singular noun. But this is a bit problematic. Right? It's again kind of a convention, because if you think about it, if it is in place of the tanween, then you would expect it to disappear when you add the alif lam, but it doesn't, right? You still say al-dhahibun, all right, or al-katibun. So yeah, those who want to defend that it is who want to defend it being عوضاً عن التنوين, they will say that okay, it's originally as a substitute for the tanween, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has the exact same function. But there are other explanations for why the noon is there, and of course all of this is kind of after the fact rationalization. The bottom line is because this is the way the Arabs use the language. But there are other explanations. Sibawayh said the noon is there in lieu of these words, the muthanna and the jam, having i'rab bil harakat. Alright, so since they do not have a vowel-based i'rab, they take a noon in lieu of that. Why should they take a noon and not something else? Why should they take anything to begin with? That's of course this is part of this bigger issue. Another view is that it is to distinguish the dual or the plural from the singular, right? Especially in the mansub case. If you say, alright, let's say if you wanted to say the two writers went, ذهب الكاتبان. If the noon were not there, ذهب الكاتب. Actually, no, it's not going to work there. Yeah, let's take some other verb. أكل الكاتبان. If the noon is not there, أكل الكاتبا. There's now an ambiguity here because al-katiba could be mansub is for the mufrad, right? In which case now it's actually going to be the maf'ul bihi, right? Akala al-katiba would mean he ate the writer, the one writer. Alright, so that's one possibility, that the noon was added to distinguish it from the singular, right? Especially for the case of the dual. And maybe for the plural as well in speaking, because the long and short vowel, katibun, katibu, right? Katibun would become katibu, and katibu might not be easily distinguishable in speech. So that is the view of Al-Farra. The view of Ibn Malik is that the noon is there to distinguish these nouns, the mudaf case and the non-mudaf case. Right, so we know the noon of the dual and the plural drops out in the case of these words being mudaf. So al-katibun, the writers, but katibu as-Sin, the writers of China, right? Or al-katibani, the two writers of China would be katiba as-Sin. Okay, so this is the view of Ibn Malik, that the noon is there to distinguish the mudaf case from the non-mudaf case. Alright, so the dual is pretty straightforward, yarhamkumullah. But then Ibn Hisham mentions two sets of two words that have the same ruling as the regular dual. And I'll actually take them in the opposite order to the order that he gives them in. Firstly, if we look at ithnani and ithnatani, which of course mean two. Ithnan is the masculine form, ithnatani is the feminine form. These follow the same rule as the muthanna, right? Meaning they take alif for marfu and they take ya for mansub and majroor. Alright, so you can say ja'a ithnani, right? But ra'aytu ithnayni wa sallamtu ala ithnayni. Yeah, and of course the alif of ithnain is ithnain and ithnan, it is a hamzatul wasl. So in flow you will not pronounce it. Ja'a ithnani, ra'aytu ithnayni, sallamtu ala ithnayni. And ithnatayni would work the same way. Ja'at ithnatani, ra'aytu ithnatayni, sallamtu ala ithnatayni. So ithnan and ithnatan always follow the same i'rab rule as the regular dual, whether they are mudaf or not. So yeah, ithnan or ithnatan can potentially be ithnan, can potentially be mudaf. Ithnahum, right, the two of them. Ja'a ithnahum, the two of them came. And the mudaf ilayhi doesn't have to be a pronoun. Ithna akhawayka, the two of your brothers. Alright, but even in these cases, it still follows the same i'rab. Alif for marfu, ya for mansub or majroor. Similarly, the ruling does not change even when it is compounded with 10. Right, we talked about the teens numbers, and they are generally mabni ala fathil juz'ain, but we said 12 is an exception because the units part is mu'arab. Right, ja'a ithna ashar, but ra'aytu ithnay ashar wa sallamtu ala ithnay ashar. And of course there's a feminine form which works similarly. Ja'at ithnata ashar, ra'aytu ithnatay ashar, sallamtu ala ithnatay ashar. Alright, so ithnan and ithnatan follow the rules for the dual without any stipulations or conditions. The second set of two words, however, have a stipulation. Kila and kilta, which mean both, right? Kila means both in the for the masculine form, and kilta is the feminine form of both. Just like kul is for all, but kila or kilta will be used for the dual. Alright, so for these there is a condition. They follow the i'rab of the muthanna only if they are mudaf to a pronoun. So for example, ja'ani kilahuma, both of them came to me. But ra'aytu kilayhima, I saw both of them. وَسَلَّمْتُ عَلَى كِلَيْهِمَا. You have those, right? Okay. So the condition is that the mudaf ilayhi, there is a mudaf ilayhi and it is a pronoun. If the mudaf ilayhi is not a pronoun, then they do not change. Alright, so جاءني كلا أخويك. You have these as well, right? Both of your two brothers came to me. Yeah, of course there is as you would expect, because even if it were to be mu'rab like the muthanna, since it is marfu, it will still have the alif. But the other two, notice رأيت كلا أخويك, not كلي. Right? Even though we said رأيت كليهما, but رأيت كلا أخويك, because the mudaf ilayhi is not a damir. And similarly, سلمت على كلا أخويك. And we could do the same with كلتا. جاءتني كلتا أختيك. ورأيت كلتا أختيك. وسلمت على كلتا أختيك. Alright. So that is kila and kilta. And so we can go on then to the sound masculine plural. He already mentioned something about it. Then he goes on now to mention some words that are mulhaq bi jam' al-mudhakkar salim, that have the same ruling as jam' al-mudhakkar salim, although strictly speaking they are not jam' al-mudhakkar salim in the full sense. Alright, so just to recap, as we mentioned above, the jam' al-mudhakkar salim takes a waw for the marfu case and a ya for the mansub or majroor case. Right? So جاء الكاتبون, رأيت الكاتبين, سلمت على الكاتبين. Okay, so the sound masculine plural is usually only for certain human plurals. Alright, so it is usually not used for non-humans. Of course, it does not apply to all human plurals, because there are some that have broken plurals, like rajul. Right? Rajul pluralizes not to rajulun, at least not as far as I'm aware, but to rijalun. But there are some words that are not referring to human beings, but which nevertheless pluralize with this pattern. So he mentions some of these, and we'll quickly go through them. He says, وَأُولُو وَعِشْرُونَ وَأَخَوَاتُهُ وَعَالَمُونَ وَأَهْلُونَ وَوَابِلُونَ وَأَرَضُونَ وَسِنُونَ وَبَابُهُ وَبَنُونَ وَعِلِّيُّونَ وَشِبْهُهُ كَالْجَمْعِ. Right, meaning all these words that he mentioned have the same ruling as your sound masculine plural. Alright, so let's just go through them one by one, make sure you know what they mean. Ulu. Ulu means people of. There's a feminine form of it, which is ulati. Right? Ulatu, ulati. But ulu is a plural for which there is no singular. Right? It is similar in meaning to dhu. Right? But dhu has its own plural, which is dhawu, which actually we could list here as well. Dhawu and dhawi. Right? It's mulhaq bi jam' al-mudhakkar salim. Yeah, I should maybe have put dhawi in there, but you can write it in yourself. So, yeah, this word does occur in the Quran, for example, in Surah, what is it? An-Nur, وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى. So we actually have both marfu form here and mansub form. Right? Let not the people of virtue, ulul fadli, let them not swear to not give. Yeah, the Arab of this is slightly complex, but even though there's no not in there, it's implied. Let them not swear. Let them not swear to not give to. So the second not is not there. To not give to the people of kinship. Alright, so we have ulul fadli and ulil qurba. Yeah, and similar to dhu, you are probably not going to have this without a mudaf ilayhi. But hypothetically, it would have been ulun, just as dhawu would have been dhawun. Alright, notice about ulu, the first waw is not pronounced. So it's not ulu, it is ulu. Probably the reason this waw was written is to distinguish ulu from al-alaw or something like that. Yeah, similar to ulaika. Right, ulaika is written with a waw which is not pronounced, probably to distinguish it from ilayka. Alright, then we have ishrun wa akhawatuhu. Right, ishrun and its sisters. So these are basically ishrun, thalathun, arba'un, khamsun, sittun, sab'un, thamanun, and tis'un. Right, from 20, the tens, all the way up to 90. These are mulhaq bi jam' al-mudhakkar salim. So in the Quran we have إن يكن منكم 20 صابرون. If there are among you 20 steadfast ones, then they will overcome 200. And then we have another, for an example of the mansub or majroor, فَجْلِدُوهُمْ 80 جَلْدَةً. Right? People who have committed zina, and the zina is proven, and there are no mitigating circumstances or excusing circumstances, then whip them 80 lashes. So 80 here is mansub because it is maf'ul bihi. Otherwise it would have been 80 if it were marfu. Okay, then we have ahlun, plural of ahl. Ahl, of course, has a jam' taksir also, which is ahali, al-ahali or ahalin. But it has a sound masculine plural as well, أهلون. سيقول لك المخلفون من الأعراب شغلتنا أموالنا وأهلونا. Right, those Bedouins who were left behind, right, who did not join the army when they were commanded to do so and did not have a legitimate excuse, they will say, our possessions and our families distracted us or made us busy. Alright, so ahlun means people or family. We have the mansub form in another ayah, min awsati ma tut'imuna ahlikum. Right, this is talking about the kaffara. Let's see, kaffara of the oath, I think it is. فكفارته إطعام 10 مساكين من أوسط ما تطعمون أهليكم أو كسوتهم أو تحرير رقبة. Alright, so from the kind of average or median of what you feed your families, your people. Then wabilun is the plural of wabil, which is a rainstorm. This does not occur in the Quran in the plural. Wabil in the singular, I think it's there. أصابها إعصار أصابها وابل فآتت أكلها ضعفين. Yeah, it is there. But wabilun is not in the Quran. But it is also in this category. Then aradun, plural of ard. Again, ard has a jam'u taksir, which is actually more common. Aradi, al-aradi or aradin. But it has a mulhaq bi jam' al-mudhakkar salim form of the plural as well, which is aradun with a fatha on the ra, although it is sometimes found with a sukun, particularly in poetry. So ardun is not in the Quran, pretty sure, but it is you do find it in the hadith. For example, hadith reported by Tirmidhi, that the Prophet ﷺ said after ruku, Allahumma rabbana lakal hamdu mil as-samawati والأرضين ملء السماوات والأرضين وما بينهما وملء ما شئت من شيء. That, O Allah, our Lord, to you is praise, the heavens and the earth's full. Right? The fill of the heavens and the earth and what is between them. Meaning, if all of those things were to be filled up with praise, that's how much praise. And the fill of whatever you will. Alright, then we have sinun, which is plural of sanatun. Sana meaning year, and again it has a broken plural, sanawat, but it also has a kind of masculine plural, sinun. So I think he said sinun wa babuhu, right? So yeah, there are other words like sinun. So these are basically words which in which the third root letter is dropped for the singular and it takes a ta marbuta instead. So the root of sanatun is sanawa. So at least on a conceptual level, you could say that it is originally sanawun, but then the waw was dropped and replaced by a ta marbuta to give sanatun. And similarly, there are other words which I think I gave you, right? Iddatun is a portion, right? Probably coming from adda ya'addu, to bite, like a piece bitten off. And so it takes a plural idun or idin, which is in the Quran. Ja'alul Qur'ana idin, right? It's criticizing people who made the Quran into portions, right? Maybe practicing on part of it and abandoning another part of it, or believing a part of it and not a part of it. Then we have izatun, which again would be izun or izin in the plural, which also is in the Quran. Anil yamini wa anil shimali izin, right? To the right and to the left in groups. Thubatun is also a group. So the plural would be thubun, which we don't have in the Quran, but we have the feminine plural, thubat. Fanfiru thubatin, awinfiru jami'a. Go out in groups or go out all together. Then we have qulatun, which apparently was some kind of a stick, a small stick or plank, piece of wood, that would be put up erect in the ground, and then it would be hit with a bigger stick in some kind of a game. Alright. So qulatun, the plural would be qulun. And yeah, there are a couple of others as well. Fi'atun, which is again a group. Again, it has a feminine plural, fi'atun, but it has fi'un also. And mi'atun, 100, again the common plural is mi'atun, but you could have mi'un as well. Alright, then we have banun, which is plural of ibn. What are the root letters of ibn? Banawa, right. So ibn again has two plurals, abna, right? Abna, which is jam'u taksir, or banun, which is mulhaq bi jam'u mudhakkar as-salim. يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون. Right? So yeah, if you don't realize this, you might end up saying malun wala banunun. But that's not correct, because the noon is not a root letter. It is the waw noon is added for the plural. And then we have banin also in the Quran, I think in more than one place. Just one example I put there. أصطفى البنات على البنين. Right? So what's going on with astafa? Do you know? What verb form is it?
8.
It's form 8, right? From safa wa. Istafa becomes istafa, right? Ta becomes a ta. What else is happening? Why is there a hamza on the alif?
For ana?
No. That ana astafi.
Oh, so it's amr then.
It's not amr either, no.
Why is it
That
hamza?
amr would not have a hamza. It would be istafi. The hamza here is for istifham.
Oh, but it drops the hamzatul wasl.
Yeah, so when you have hamzatul istifham plus hamzatul wasl, the hamzatul wasl drops out. So you don't say a istafa, you say astafa. Alright. Then illiyun he mentions also, right, which we have in the Quran in both forms. لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون. Right? Illiyun is the highest part of Jannah, right? وشبهه, right? So there are other words as well, like this. Yeah, I think you'll sometimes find the scholars mentioning that Alright, if you happen to name someone Zaydun, then his name would follow the same pattern. جاء زيدون ورأيت زيدين وسلمت على زيدين. Alright, then we go on to sound feminine plural. How are we doing on time? About halfway? Okay. So sound feminine plural, he says وَأُولَاتُ وَمَا جُمِعَ بِأَلِفٍ وَتَاء مَزِيدَتَيْنِ وَمَا سُمِّيَ بِهِ مِنْهُمَا فَيُنصَبُ بِالْكَسْرَةِ نَحْوُ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَاصْطَفَى الْبَنَاتِ. Alright, so sound feminine plurals take alif ta ending, right? They drop the ta marbuta and take alif ta. But notice he didn't use the word jam' mu'annath salim. For sound masculine, he did say jam' mudhakkar salim. And there's a reason he's done that. He said instead, what is pluralized with alif ta? Mazidataini, additional, meaning they are not, neither the alif nor the ta are root letters. Because there might be words which are plural, which end with alif ta, but either the alif or the ta is an original root letter, right? Like bait pluralizes to abiyat. Similarly, mayyit pluralizes to amwat, or qadi pluralizes to qudatun. Right, so in this case, the ta is not a root letter, but the alif is a root letter. Right, it is originally a waw, originally a ya, right, from qadaya, qadi, it becomes qadayatun, which is now heavy, it is awkward, so it becomes, qadi, qudayatun, which then becomes qudatun. Alright, so that's why he adds the stipulation of mazidataini to exclude things like abiyat and qudat. So, yeah, something like, any word which is pluralized with alif ta, regardless whether it had a ta marbuta for the singular or not. Right, so Hind, for example, which is a female name, pluralizes to hindat. So if we define the sound masculine plural as something which ends with a ta marbuta, which is then replaced by alif ta, then that would not cover Hind. Whereas the way he describes it, وَمَا جُمِعَ بِأَلِفٍ وَتَا مَزِيدَتَيْنِ, this includes all of those as well as others that we're going to mention, which wouldn't fit under sound feminine plural label. Alright, so hindat, fatimat. Fatimat would fit under sound feminine plural, right? Because Fatimatun becomes Fatimatun. But there are other words, just like Hind is strictly not under that pattern. There are other words strictly not in that category. Talha. Right? Talha is not feminine. But it looks like a feminine and pluralizes like a feminine. So the plural is Talhat. Talhatun. Ja'at Talhatu, right? The Talhas came. There are also masculine words, some that do not end in ta marbuta, but which pluralize with alif ta, right? Like hammam, right? A bathhouse pluralizes to hammamat. So this is interesting because the singular is masculine, but the plural is feminine. Alright, similarly there are some words that end with alif maqsura, but which pluralize with alif ta ending. Like hubla, which means, do you know? Hubla?
Like a rope or something?
No, hubla means pregnant. And the plural is hublayat, right? Pregnant woman. Pregnant woman is hubla, pregnant woman is hublayat. And also there are some words with an alif mamduda ending, which also pluralize in this form, alif ta ending. Sahra, desert, pluralizes to sahrawat. Right? Safara fi sahrawati. Right? He traveled in the deserts. Alright, so because there are all these different types of words that pluralize with alif ta, right? So let's quickly recap them. There are feminine words that do not end with ta marbuta, like Hind. There are masculine words that do end with ta marbuta, which pluralize in this way, like Talha. There are masculine words that don't end in ta marbuta, but pluralize in this way anyway, like Hammam. There are feminine words that end with alif maqsura, that pluralize in this way, like Hubla. And there are feminine words that with alif hamza, that pluralize in this way, like Sahra. Right, so this is why Ibn Hisham decided not to use the terminology of Jama' Mu'annath Salim. Of course, you could get around it by saying, alright, we'll say this is the rule for Jama' Mu'annath Salim, and then there are various categories of words that are mulhaq bi Jama' Mu'annath Salim. And even Ibn Hisham actually couldn't get away entirely from having some mulhaqat, because he says وَأُولَاتُ وَمَا جُمِعَ بِأَلِفٍ وَتَا. Alright, so ulat follows the same pattern as these words that pluralize with alif ta, but he had to mention it separately because just like ulu, it has no singular. Alright, yeah, also actually another potential problem with saying sound feminine plural is what you mean by sound, because sometimes you do simply drop the ta marbuta and add alif ta, like Fatimatun, Fatimatun, but sometimes there are vowel changes, like Sajdatun has a sukun on the jim in the singular, but it pluralizes to Sajadatun, right? The jim takes a fatha. Make sense? Okay. So I think that's enough for the Jama' Mu'annath Salim. And we can go on then to what are sometimes called the diptotes, or partially inflected nouns, partially declined nouns. In Arabic, the words you will find are غير منصرف or ممنوع من الصرف, or let's see, is there another one? I think there's another one, I'm just not thinking of it right now. What is it? Mutamakkin. Yeah, I should double check that and get back to you. وما لا ينصرف. Alright, meaning this is another case of non-default i'rab. فيجر بالفتحة نحو بأفضل منه إلا مع ال نحو بالأفضل أو بالإضافة نحو بأفضلكم. Alright, so the mamnu min as-sarf words are a special category of nouns that do not take tanween nor do they take kasra unless they are either definite or mudaf. Right? So, what they do take instead of kasra is a fatha. Alright, so mamnu min as-sarf words take fatha for the majroor, as you know. Oh, we actually forgot to talk about it, the i'rab of the sound feminine plural and mulhaqat. So let's step back for a moment. So if we have al-katibat, for example, the female writers, for the marfu case, there is nothing abnormal. It takes a dhamma, right? Ja'at al-katibatu or ja'at katibatun. For the mansub case, this is where we have the kind of non-standard behavior. It takes a kasra instead of a fatha. Ra'aytu al-katibati or ra'aytu katibatin. And for the majroor, it goes back to normal. It takes a kasra as you would expect. Sallamtu ala al-katibati, sallamtu ala katibatin. Alright, so the sound feminine plural and its mulhaqat have irregular behavior for the case of the mansub. Right? They do not take a fatha, they take a kasra instead. The غير منصرف nouns are kind of the reverse of that, because they take fatha for the majroor instead of kasra, whereas the sound feminine plural took kasra for the mansub instead of fatha. Alright, so for example, these examples Ibn Hisham gave in the sharh. وأوحينا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط. Right? So what you would expect is إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب. But since these names are ممنوع من الصرف, they do not take a kasra nor do they take tanween, they take a single fatha to indicate their jar state. يعملون له ما يشاء من محاريب وتماثيل. Alright, not محاريب وتماثيل, because again these words are ممنوع من الصرف. However, if these words that are ممنوع من الصرف have the alif lam of definite article before them, then they can take a kasra. Of course, they're not going to take tanween, because you cannot have alif lam and tanween at the same time. وأنتم عاكفون في المساجد. Right, even though masajid is ممنوع من الصرف, but because the alif lam is there, you can have a kasra. And similarly, لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. Right, this illustrates the idafa. أحسن is normally ممنوع من الصرف, but because it is mudaf here, it can take a kasra. Right, so this would be an argument for those who say that the mudaf should be considered definite by default. Alright. So the mamnu min as-sarf words, why are they mamnu min as-sarf? Again, the basic answer is because this is the way the Arabs used them. But many scholars suggested that it is because they resemble a verb in some way. And the verb cannot be majroor. So because these nouns resemble a verb, they do not take the ending which is normally used to indicate the majroor, even though they can be majroor, right? Because they are nouns. Alright, so how do we identify the mamnu min as-sarf? This is something that the Ajurumiyya did not mention in detail, and Ibn Hisham does not mention in detail here either. He kind of touches on it in the sharh, but even there he doesn't get into it in detail, I don't think. Yeah, he doesn't get into it in detail. So we will mention some details because it's useful to know. But basically, a word is mamnu min as-sarf if it either has a combination of two illah from two given sets, or one illah in lieu of that combination of two. Alright, so there are two sets of illah. Illah is basically a reason. There are other meanings for illah, but illah here means a reason for it being having resemblance to a verb basically, and therefore being mamnu min as-sarf. So there are the ilal lafdhiya. What is it? 7 of them, I think. You count them quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it only 6? 3, 4, 5. Yeah, whatever it is, 6 or 7, which are lafdhi, and 2 which are ma'nawi. Alright, so the lafdhi ones in that table are listed in the rightmost column, and the ma'nawi ilal are in the two left columns, al-alamiyya and al-wasfiyya. Right, alamiyya means the state of, it is masdar sina'i from al-alam, meaning a proper name, right, like proper noun in English. So al-alamiyya is the state of being a proper noun, and al-wasfiyya is the state of being descriptive. So if a noun has either alamiyya or wasfiyya, and in addition has one of the ilal lafdhiya, which are listed in the rightmost column, then it will be mamnu min as-sarf. Right, so we don't have words actually for all of the possible combinations. So in the wasfiyya column there are some instances where we don't have anything. but let's quickly go through this table. So the first إلا لفظية is التأنيث بغير ألف. Alright, it's feminineness without an alif. Alright, so we have, for example, Fatima or Zainab. Right? These words are feminine without an alif for the feminineness, and they also have alamiyya. They are proper names, therefore they are mamnu min as-sarf. Right? And similarly Hamza, yeah, which again is a proper name, so it has alamiyya, even though it does not have ta'neeth, but it has the appearance of ta'neeth. Right? So Hamza also is mamnu min as-sarf. جاء حمزة ورأيت حمزة وسلمت على حمزة. And similarly جاءت فاطمة ورأيت فاطمة وسلمت على فاطمة. Alright, the second line, al-ujma. Yeah, there is not, as far as I know, any instance of wasfiyya combined with ta'neeth for mamnu min as-sarf. So we go on to al-ujma. Al-ujma means foreignness, non-Arabicness. So if a word is of non-Arabic origin and it has alamiyya, then it will be mamnu min as-sarf. For feminine non-Arabic names, this would be kind of redundant, right? Because just by being feminine and a proper name, it will be enough to make it mamnu min as-sarf. So I didn't list any examples of those. But masculine names like Ibrahim and Ismail and Ishaq and Yaqub, right? These are all mamnu min as-sarf. And again, I'm not aware of any instance of wasfiyya with ujma. The third illa lafdhiya is tarkib, meaning compounding, composition. Alright, so compound nouns or composite nouns, I don't know which one is a better word, which are made up of two nouns. Alright, this is what we refer to, and was it yesterday or the day before, tarkib al-mazji, right, where they are joined together to form a new word, alright, which is now inseparable in terms of meaning. So Hadramaut, for example, right, coming from Hadara plus Maut. So Hadramaut would be mamnu min as-sarf. Right, let's say you go there and you're pointing to it, Hada Hadramautu, right, not Hadramautun. Ra'aytu Hadramauta, Safartu ila Hadramauta. Similarly, Ma'adi Karib, which is a composite of Ma'adi plus Karib. And Qadi Khan, similarly, which is the name of a famous Hanafi jurist. So you would say Qala Qadi Khanu, not Qadi Khanun. وَرَأَيْتُ قَاضِي خَانَ وَسَلَّمْتُ عَلَى قَاضِي خَانَ وَقَرَأْتُ فِي كِتَابِ قَاضِي خَانَ. But words, names like Sibawayh, did I give you this? Are not mamnu min as-sarf, they are actually mabni ala al-kasr. Yeah, so these names of course are of Persian origin, but you could consider them to be composite. Sibawayh, for example, of Siba plus Way. I'm not sure if that's actually the case, if the Way suffix, it probably does mean something in Persian, but yeah, names like Sibawayh, Mardawayh, Rahawayh, these are mabni ala al-kasr. Right, so قال سيبويه رأيت سيبويه سلمت على سيبويه. Alright, again I'm not aware of tarkib coming together with wasfiyya. So the next line, ziyadatul alif wal noon, additional alif noon that are not root letters. So when that is combined with alamiyya, there are many examples of that, like Marwan, Affan, Uthman, Imran. These names are all mamnu min as-sarf. Hassan, right? So جاء عثمان رأيت عثمان سلمت على عثمان. And then the next column over, we do have examples of wasfiya with ziyadatul alif wal noon. Alright, descriptive words which have an alif noon at the end that are not root letters. So غضبان, right, which is mubalagha from غضب, right, extremely angry. غضبان is mamnu min as-sarf. Similarly, yaqdhan, meaning awake. Shab'an, meaning full, satiated. And Rayyan is the same, similar to Shab'an, but for drink. You've had enough to drink. Alright, so these words are all mamnu min as-sarf and others like them. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? Yeah, the fifth line. Waznul fi'l. Names that have, proper names that have the pattern of a verb. Like Ahmad. Ahmad as a name is mamnu min as-sarf because it combines alamiya with waznul fi'l. Right, so جاء أحمد رأيت أحمد سلمت على أحمد. Taghlib is a name also. Right, there is one of the narrators of hadith is named Aban ibn Taghlib. Aban ibn Taghlib. Taghlib is also the name of a tribe, actually, Banu Taghlib. They were Christian, they had converted to Christianity at some point. So there's discussion among the fuqaha about whether the animals slaughtered by the Christians of Banu Taghlib are halal. So I think Shafi'i madhab is it that says that they are not. It is not allowed to eat their dhabiha. Alright. What else? Ya'ish. Sorry? Yazid, yeah. Yazid is wasn al-fi'l also. I should have put that there maybe. You can write it in. Right? It says the wasn of fi'l mudari, Yazidu, but it is a name. So جاء يزيد رأيت يزيد سلمت على يزيد. Yazid, however, sometimes takes an alif lam. So if it takes the alif lam, it could take a kasra. رأيت الوليد سلمت على الوليد. جاء الوليد. Okay. Ya'ish is another example. Ya'ish can be a name. There was a famous grammarian Ibn Ya'ish. I think he was a teacher of Ibn Malik. Ibn Ya'ish. Alright. So Ya'ish as a name is also alamiya plus wazn al-fi'l, so it will be mamnu min as-sarf. Okay. Then we can have wasfiya with wazn al-fi'l. Like, alright, Akram, Afdal, Ahmar. Right? So the colors in their masculine form are going to be mamnu min as-sarf. Hada kitabun, not ahmarun, but ahmaru. And ishtaraytu kitaban ahmara, not ahmaran. Wa qara'tu fi kitabin ahmara, not ahmarin. And similarly, akram, afdal, and so on. Of course, these are sometimes used as names as well, in which case they would go in the first column. But what we are referring to here is where they are used merely as descriptive common nouns. Alright? Let's see. Sallamtu ala. Yeah. Ala akrama minka. Alright? I greeted someone more noble than you. Sallamtu ala akrama minka, not akramin. Alright. And then we have al-adl. Al-adl here doesn't mean justice. Adala is to turn away from something. Yeah? So this refers to nouns that have been turned away from their original pattern to form a new pattern, like Umar. Right? They say that Umar originally comes from Amir. Right? And then we turned away from this pattern, Amir, to make it a new pattern, Umar. So Umar is mamnu min as-sarf. And similarly, Zufar. Right? Zufar was one of the famous students of Abu Hanifa. So Zufar is also a proper name. It has Alamiya and it has Adl. Zuhal. Do you know what Zuhal is? It's the name of the planet Saturn. Alright, so it's also a proper name. So if you are, I don't know, teaching an astronomy class and pointing to the planet Saturn, هذا زحل. And then the student will say رأيت زحل. And نظرت إلى زحل. Alright. Then we can have وصفية with عدل. أخر, which is plural of آخر. Right? فعدة من أيام أخر. Right? So آخر is singular. أخرى is feminine singular. أخر is masculine plural. أخريات is feminine plural. So أخر is going to be ممنوع من الصرف because it has this pattern also. And then there are some other patterns which are slightly different. Right? مثنى وثلاث ورباع. These are also ممنوع من الصرف because of عدل and وصفية. Okay, so we said in order to be ممنوع من الصرف, a word should have a combination, right, of one إلا from the معنوي category and one from the لفظي category. So 6 we have listed here from the لفظي category and 2 from the معنوي category. However, there is an alternative. Instead of having 2 إلا, they can be ممنوع من الصرف with 1 إلا, which is in lieu of this combination of 2 إلا. And there are 2 categories for this. The first is what is called صيغة منتهى الجموع. صيغة is kind of the format or the pattern of منتهى الجموع. منتهى coming from انتهى ينتهي. Alright, the furthest limit, the end of plurals. Meaning that these are plurals that cannot be pluralized any further. Right, because there are some plurals that can themselves be pluralized. Right, like Bait pluralizes to buyut. Buyut can be pluralized to buyutat. Alright, so Bait is a jam', but it is not صيغة منتهى الجموع. Kalb can be pluralized to kilab or to aklub. Aklub can be pluralized to akalib. But once you get to akalib, you cannot pluralize akalib any further. You have reached the limit, the muntaha al-jumu'ah. Right, the limit of pluralizing. So the way to recognize these is that they are broken plurals containing an alif somewhere in there. And this alif is followed by 2 additional letters or 3 additional letters, the middle of which is sakin. Alright, so followed by 2 letters. Examples of that would be masajid. We have the alif followed by jim and dal. Manabir. Right, so masajid of course is plural of masjid. Manabir is plural of mimbar. Right, so ism makan often have this plural. Let's see, what other examples can we think of? Maharib, actually that's in the second category, or the second subcategory, so let's go on to that. Asafir is the one you have there. We have the alif followed by 3 letters, the fa, ya, ra. The middle of those 3, the ya, has a sukun on it, so it fulfills the criterion. So asafir, plural of usfur, is mamnu min as-sarf. Alright, similarly sarabil, plural of sirbal, or sarawil, plural of sirwal. So words that are صيغة منتهى الجموع are going to be ممنوع من الصرف. Yeah, regardless whether they're coming from a 3-letter root like masjid or a 4-letter root like usfur. Yeah, usfur is a 4-letter root. Ain Suad Fara. And finally, the second single criterion that is enough alone to make it ممنوع من الصرف is ألف التأنيث المقصورة أو الممدودة. Alright? like dunya, alright, this, or hubla, alright, this is alif maqsura. So yeah, notice earlier we, the first line of the table we said التأنيث بغير الألف, because if it is ta'nith with alif it doesn't need a second criterion like alamiya or wasfiya. So dunya is feminine, right, based on, it is feminine and it ends in the alif, but it is mamnu' min as-sarf even without having alamiya or wasfiya. Yeah, of course if someone is named dunya then it has alamiya, but even if it is dunya as a word meaning the world, it is mamnu' min as-sarf. Alright, and similarly with hubla. Hubla is going to be mamnu' min as-sarf. Of course, with the alif ending, the vowel is not going to show up, right? But at least, yeah, dhamma and kasra are not going to show up, right? Alright, and then we have feminine ending in alif mamduda, meaning alif plus hamza. Alright, so it could be a word like hamra, right, the feminine of ahmar, or bayda, the feminine of abyad, right? So اشتريت سيارة حمراء, not حمراء, right? Or قرأت في صحيفة بيضاء, right? And then also there are words that end with alif hamza even though they are not strictly feminine, right? They might be plurals like ulama, which is actually plural of alim, which is masculine, and ulama is also masculine plural, right? You would say yeah, if you want to just say the writer scholars as an adjective, al-ulama al-katibun, right? So it's still masculine, but it looks like a feminine ending, and so it is mamnu' min as-sarf. So ha'ula'i ulama'u, not ulama'un. Ra'aytu ulama'a, or darastu inda ulama'a, right? Or sallamtu ala ulama'a. Of course, if you add the alif lam, then as for all of these, it is no longer mamnu' min as-sarf. جاء العلماء رأيت العلماء سلمت على العلماء. أولياء is similarly mamnu' min as-sarf. There's a famous saying of Imam al-Shafi'i, and I think it's attributed to other people as well besides al-Shafi'i: إن لم يكن العلماء أولياء لله تعالى لم يكن لله ولي فليس لله ولي. Right? If the scholars, meaning the practicing scholars of Islam, are not awliya, right, those who are very close to Allah, then there is no one who is a wali. Okay, so I guess that is it for the mamnu' min as-sarf. How are we doing on time? All set? Alright, so we stop here, and next time inshallah we'll go on to i'rab of the fi'l mudari. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.